Got a couple questions for you. The people want to know. What was the moment you knew that you were built to be an entrepreneur, not an employee?
I just simply couldn't fucking work for anyone. I remember every single time I would have any type of leadership or boss or something like that, I would butt heads with them 24/7. They would tell me to do something. I'll give a perfect example. When I worked in construction, do you remember when I worked with that guy, Gino?
Yeah.
And he would come pick me up in
You were
that
like
fucking
15 years old.
yeah, he would come pick me up in that dirty, rinky pickup truck,
Okay.
and he would have people calling him 24/7 surrounding unpaid parking tickets. He would pick me up at like 4 in the morning and they would start at like 5 a.m. and they would go to like 8 p.m. at night. And it was just people calling about parking tickets. So I would hear shit like that. I'm like, this person's not where I want to be in life. Why would I ever listen to them in any capacity? And so he would tell me, like, okay, hold this brick while I'm cutting the end of it. And I'm like, if this guy slips and cuts off one of my fucking fingers, I lose a finger for life. If I just tell him to fuck off and no, I lose a job. So guess what happened? I told him to fuck off and told him no, and he was like, "Okay, well you can't. If you can't work, well then you're gonna have to go home." So I went home.
Fair enough. Okay. Any other moments when you realized you weren't cut out to be an employee, but rather,
Well, I have too much ego. So a lot of what drives me as a person is my ego. And it's like that could be used for good or bad. I try to use it towards positive things like building great teams, building a great company, making sure that we provide a valuable service, that no one ever speaks poorly about our company because we always do the right thing, because my ego can't tolerate being, someone who doesn't do things ethically or doesn't do things right or doesn't do things the best. So I have harnessed it for good, but my ego is the biggest one. And a great instance, which led me to never work for anyone ever again in my life, was that famous situation with Paul Dewar back at McKibben's,
okay, yeah.
where it's like 5 in the morning. I just finished cleaning shit and puke off of the floors at 5 in the morning after a fucking 12-hour shift. And it's like 5 a.m. And I asked if I could have like a day off or something like that for my birthday 2 weeks in advance because we were going up to like do something for my birthday. And he was like, no. And then I started to inquire further. I'm like, I'll do extra shifts here and there, and I'll even do double the amount of shifts next week. And anyways, long story short, we ended the conversation, and he ends off the conversation with, I own you. And I remember getting in my car and thinking to myself, this fat fucking loser bum bar manager owns me. And I like questioned my entire life, every decision I've ever made in my entire life. I was like, there is no fucking way anyone will ever own me. And I didn't show up to my next shift. And they were just blasting my phone, and I just never showed up. I never worked for anyone ever again in my life.
Wow. That was the moment of pivoting to.
That was the turning point.
That was the turning point, or rather, that was when you stepped into the version of you knew you were supposed to be.
Sure.
We got a question from the YouTube over here, and it was, "How did you go from zero to an eight-figure company, like the in the trenches version, not like the Instagram version of Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces and work hard and you know the whole shebang there? What's the real, unfiltered, in the trenches version of how you went from zero to an eight-figure company?"
I mean, it really, like, I hate when people ask these kind of questions because they're looking for one answer. And it's like, it wasn't just one answer. Like, yes, it's hard work. And like, if you take an overarching approach to it, like, no fucking shit, to build any type of company, you have to work incredibly hard. Look at any restaurant owner. They don't even have an eight-figure company. They have maybe a six-figure company, and they work 24 fucking 7. Now, scale that infinitely to 200 fucking plus teammates. We manage over 78 accounts of other companies within our portfolio. Factor in their teams, their operations, their marketing, their sales, their overall delivery. And it's like now it's so much that you can't just quantify it as just hard work. What I would say is it's a couple key different elements. If I'm talking about when I was in the trenches, what you have to do is become incredibly skilled at one facet of your business. So in my case, it was sales. I was really good at sales. Being really good at sales meant I could replicate that process and I could hire around me being really good at sales. I only stopped taking sales calls for new portfolio companies, a year and a half ago? A year ago? We've been in business for 7 years. So I took all of the sales calls up until Wade started to finally take over all of the sales calls a year ago. So we built the business surrounding my skill set of sales, where I hired for individuals that were better than me in some proficiencies. So when it came to operations, we had Scott. When it came to, overall marketing, when it came to customer fulfillment, when it came to appointment setting, when it came to finance, when it came to overall business development, we just hired for people in those roles who had a higher expertise than myself, but I knew were competent because of the base characteristics that I shared myself in order to be incredibly proficient in this one role. So if you're really good at something, it's like you're in hiring. Like you're the HR division of our company. You can tell when someone has it.
Yeah, right away.
And it's the same principle for every other role that you're going to be hiring subsequently in your business, where you have an individual, you know that you perform at the highest level because of these 4 characteristics, let's say. Let's say you're in peak physical fitness, you have some degree of intellect, you're future pacing, you're delaying gratification, whatever it may be. And it's, depending on your business, it could be different in all those things. Like there's plenty of, Fortune 500 CEOs that are fucking morbidly obese. So maybe that's not a component. But let's say whatever those characteristics that you've seen has been the model for success, you want to hire people based off of those characteristics, not just solely based off their skill set. You want to look for the skill set that's complementary to you, meaning you don't have that skill set or you're not willing to learn it, and you want expertise to circumvent all of the hardship of going and learn that skill and not being the best at it.
Yeah.
So that's like in the initial stages, that's how you build the first, I would say, 0 to like million. How you go from 1 million to, 10 million plus, that's more so, okay, you add from 0 to 1 million, it was one product, one channel, or one service, one channel, and a small team. From 1 million to 10 is you're doing everything you did, but you're building products around it, you're building services around it to increase your customer LTV, and you're building your team's capacity to service those clients proficiently so you don't ruin your reputation as you scale and basically cut out all the goodwill that you've built in the marketplace when you were more of a boutique company, let's say. So that's the progression. In between all of that is just work extremely hard. Like if you were a genius, you wouldn't have to ask yourself the question of how do I become successful? So the only thing that's left for you to do is work hard. So that was the reality that I came to, and I've tested my IQ. You've seen my IQ test. I have an IQ well above 130. So I'm not retarded. Sometimes I'm a little bit retarded, but more often than not, I'm able to problem solve. So when you factor in that, okay, you might not have the highest level of intellect, all you can do is work really hard and be consistent. And therefore you have to sacrifice. So you don't do the parties, you don't do the vacations, you don't do the weekends, you don't do the video games, you don't do the Netflix, you don't do the fucking off with women, you don't do any of that. You legitimately lock in and you scale a business for 5 years without any perceived likelihood of achievement. And if you do that for 5 years, it's pretty unlikely to lose. So that's how you build a fucking company from 0 to 8 figures.
It sounds like it's a lot of what not to do and what you shouldn't be doing more than what is the specifics that you need to be doing. Because if you eliminate all the stupidities that you're not supposed to do, then...
Bro, half the struggle is just not being an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not doing stupid shit. If you could just not do stupid shit, you're going to win by default. You don't even have to do anything crazy or fucking innovative or revolutionary. You just have to just not be an idiot. Like we live in Florida. Miami is a skip and hop away from us. We see plenty of kids who they make 100K a month and they spend 120 of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no fucking shit. As soon as the views dry up on whatever fucking shitty fucking e-commerce, drop shipping, crypto fucking shit that they're selling dries up, they go out of business. They didn't invest. They didn't scale, their operations. They decided to go buy GT3 RSs and fucking Lamborghinis and, the penthouse in Miami, and then go to Kiki on the river and fucking live. And they did that for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then they were out of business.
It's kind of how that cookie crumbles. This one's a funny one, and I know we have a lot of stories about this. But I'm going to ask you. Did anyone seriously doubt you would make it? And then the follow-up to that is what happened to them. Where are they now?
I mean, there's so many different people who doubted me. Like, fuck, you even doubted me when in the beginning stages, 100%.
I didn't know what the fuck you were doing.
No, when I dropped out of school.
Oh, yeah, you were fucking doped up in the woods painting, and you're like, I'm dropping out of school. I was like,
I was studying engineering.
Exactly. You're studying engineering, and you're like, we're walking in the woods one day, consuming some sort of illicit substance, and you were like, bro, I'm not going to school today. I'm like, okay, skipped a couple days before. And I was like waiting for you to finish your sentence, and I'm like, okay. You're like, no, like ever, again, never. And I was like, what do you mean? You just paid your semester. Like, what about your books? You have to go like pick up your shit. Because like I have very, limited mindset when it comes to spending money. So I'm like, my mind's automatically going, okay, but what about the books that you just spent $300 on? Like, what are you going to do with those?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, no, I'm never going back. It's like, what do you mean you're never going to go back? You're like, yeah, no, I'm not going anymore. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, this guy's completely drugged up. It's like 7 a.m. We're just walking through the woods like we did every other morning. Smoked a big bat. And you decide to turn to me and you're like, I'm not going to school anymore. And I'm like thinking to myself, I got class in like 4 hours. And then I got a shift at Tim Hortons. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to have to pick up 3 more shifts at Tim Hortons. I was like, this guy's fucking lost his mind. And then you proceed to consume 14 grams of mushrooms like a week or 2 later. And have the ambulance called. And I'm like, oh, this guy's really falling off the fucking deep end. So I didn't doubt you when you started in business. I doubted your decision making surrounding how you were like, I'm just not going to school. I'm going to go consume a bunch of drugs in the forest.
Okay, but nonetheless, when I've made game time decisions, I was definitely questioned by most people. Like, I was one of the first of our friend group to drop out of school.
Yep.
And that was met with a lot of like, are you sure that's the right call? Like, you might become a fucking drug addict crackhead. And I was like, no, I think it's the right call. So I was doubted a good amount. I mean, which story are you hoping I tell? Because there's about 5 billion.
So I'm thinking more so like when you first started making a little bit of scratch. When you first started a little bit of coin, a little sliver for your liver coming in. When mommy and pops were like, you guys gotta be careful. When everybody was just like, right when like it started to pick up a little bit. I'm talking like a year after you were just drugged up in the woods for a whole year.
No, so basically that first summer where I bought the range.
Yeah, when you got the range, I got the Rolex, and we were going to Terrazmo Secur getting bottles of Moet like we were fucking the Prince of Dubai.
Yeah, so everyone just thought I was either a drug dealer or some sort of scammer. So that was, and it was like, it was so early in the online education space, and it was so early in like having remote operations that when we said at the time we owned a sales agency, and this is 7 years back, when we said, oh yeah, we did high ticket sales. I fucking hate that terminology. Oh my God. Can't believe it came out of my mouth. But anyways, when we would tell people we do high ticket sales, they looked at us like we were fucking stealing grandmother's purses. They were like, oh, they would hear, oh, you do high ticket sales, and they would immediately go, oh, you scam people. and I'd be like, what the fuck? No, we sell for other businesses online. And I was like, we work for this funding company where we're getting small businesses access to 0% interest-free business funding. And then they would look at me and then they would go again, oh, you scam people. And I was like, yeah, actually, yeah. You know, like, what do you want me to say to that? Like, I've explained to you in great detail and length surrounding what we do and how we do it. If you choose not to believe it, it's because you're a skeptic and you haven't been able to achieve success in your own life. So you have to rationalize other people's success by they might not be doing something right because in your mind, you've done everything right when you're fat, poor, and shit at life and you've never accomplished anything. Therefore, the only way that these people could have accomplished anything is, you know, due to them doing something unsavory. When it might just be that they're smarter than you and they work harder than you. Like, most people are not walking around with a high IQ or, you know, the ability to problem solve or the ability to delay gratification, the ability to work hard. It's like, I don't think I'm going to go to the fucking NBA. I had to realize very early on that, bro, I'm fucking 5'9". I'm not going to the fucking NBA. If you're fucking retarded, maybe you can't start a business. Maybe you're supposed to be fat, fucking poor, and in a shit environment. Like, that's just the reality of life. So I think that's the way people justify it to themselves. Like, I don't go to fucking, you know, the NBA basketball team and say, hey, you guys must be walking on stilts because I'm not fucking 6'10".
Fair. Can you think of like a specific moment in time when someone like doubted you, and where are they at now? Like somebody that you kind of respected, or somebody that, you know, had some sort of importance in your life, who doubted you.
Yeah, but I feel like you're trying to like get someone in particular.
No, I'm
No, I feel like you're trying to like, because you've asked me the question in like 10 different ways.
You didn't answer what happened to them.
No, but I don't know who you're asking about.
Well, like, give me an example. Give a story of somebody who's doubted you, and where are they at now? Like,
yeah, but who? That's the better question.
So is there nobody who's doubted you that you had any sort of sense of accomplishment in?
Listen, man. If I looked at everyone who doubted me and looked back at them, my neck would be snapped. Okay? I don't look behind me. One of the great things about achieving great success in life is that the confidence comes from what you've built internally. All the nice cars, the house, the watches, the money in the bank, all that stuff is irrelevant. It's all of the experience that I've accumulated over the years that's built me into the person that I am today. I don't need to look at, oh, that person's in a shit spot, you know, in life, and therefore I feel better about myself. They're so irrelevant to me that their existence doesn't matter. So that's my personal opinion on it. I don't really look.
Fair enough. I mean, what do they say? The windshield is exponentially bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. So, makes perfect sense.
Not bad for a gay guy.
The cameras are rolling, so I'll reserve my comments myself. What's the most mistake? Okay. I have a group interview in 5 minutes, so we could either cut here.
Oh no, you definitely have to just reschedule that. I told you we were filming today.
I told you fucking 14 times in the last 40 minutes.
Brother.
I have 11 people in my meeting room. I already postponed it 5 minutes. So.
Okay, ask the next question, and I guess we'll cut from there. Way to fuck this up.
There's only 11 people. Hey, some of us actually got to work, boy.
Okay, go.
Fucking Tony influencer over here doesn't want me to work. What's the most expensive mistake that you've made, and what did it teach you about business and your ego?
I've made a lot of expensive mistakes. I don't quantify the gravity of the mistake by the dollar figure associated with it. Because by that definition, Dan Fleischman scamming me out of 100K in one shot, that would be considered, okay, that like direct like fuck up and direct loss of funds, that would be quantified as like direct loss of funds. By the way, Dan Fleischman, fuck you, you fucking faggot. Anywho,
Scammer fuck.
that would be like direct.
Igor looking ass motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't know how that guy even speaks to people. He's like an alien. Anywho, I digress. That would be like quantified as like the number one, like direct. I trusted some guy who I perceived as like a reputable individual in the space. He was going to provide me with a good in service. He didn't do that. I lost 100K one shot. That would be quantified as like the direct. I would say the biggest one that I've learned in business, that there's the hidden costs because you don't really know how much you lose because you can't quantify it, at least not on a balance sheet, is knowing you should fire someone and you don't. That's the biggest one. Every single time I've ever thought of firing someone and I didn't, not only do we either end up firing them later on down the line when they've made a ton more very expensive mistakes and potentially reputational damage to the business and, you know, culturally damaging the business or, you know, messing up some very important aspect of the business. But either they leave or they get fired, it ends up in them not continuing to be a part of net revenue. So every single time that I've ever thought of firing someone, you have to fire them. Because if you're even having the thought in your mind, it's because of the culmination of all these different things that have happened to lead you to that thought. So whenever you think of firing someone, just fire them. You're going to be in a better off place for it. They're going to be in a better off place for it because they're actually going to find something that they're passionate to do, or that a place of business where their type of behavior is rewarded, or X, Y, and Z. But based off of the standards of your business, if it's not in direct, you know, alignment with your core values, with how you want the business operated, or there's something that you don't like, just get them out of there.
Makes sense. Cool. Well, here, the last one, and then I'll start my group interview. What's one belief you had early on that turned out to be just total bullshit?
One belief that I had early on that's total bullshit. Fuck, those guys are really fucking blowing away with that fucking thing. Holy shit. I don't know if I have a good answer to that question.
Cool. Think on it. I'll ask you in the car.
Fair enough.